Blender is free, yeah, but the real question is it actually enough in 2026? Because depending on who you ask, Blender is either all you'll ever need, or a toy compared to the big industry tools. The truth is way more interesting than either side wants to admit. So in this video, we're going to break down whether Blender is really enough in 2026. Not from a fanboy perspective, not from a hater perspective, but from the angle that actually matters. What you want to do with 3D. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly where Blender is powerful, where it struggles, and whether you should stick with it or consider another tool. But first, there's something people don't tell you about Blender in 2026, and it might completely change the way you see it. Because there's one major shift happening right now. That makes Blender either the best deal ever, or a limiting choice depending on one thing. And I'll explain that one thing in a moment. But before that, let's talk about what actually makes Blender so powerful today. From modeling, sculpting, animation, simulations, compositing, video editing. Blender is basically an entire studio inside one app. The crazy part? For most people starting out, Blender doesn't just compete. It wins in convenience. Blender 3D is not just free. It is a comprehensive, full 3D creation pipeline that supports the entirety of the 3D workflow. It is widely used by individuals and small studios due to its unified pipeline and highly responsive development process. Advanced users can also customize Blender through Python scripting to create specialized tools, making it a versatile and powerful suite beyond just being free software. Blender's development is sustained by community and organizational funding, emphasizing that it is free because others invest in its growth and advancement. Its ambition is to compete with industry giants like Autodesk by pushing creative boundaries and maintaining cutting-edge 3D creation technology. No subscriptions, no licenses, no broken trial versions. Just download and start. In 2026, Geo nodes isn't a cool feature anymore. It's becoming a standard workflow. Procedural everything. Assets, environments, effects, particles, motion graphics. Things that used to take hours now take minutes. This has made Blender way more competitive for motion designers and VFX artists. Geometry nodes use a visual node editor to apply operations like extrusion, beveling, and transformation to 3D models non-destructively. This means artists can experiment and refine their models without permanently changing the base geometry. The system integrates well with materials and textures, allowing the creation of highly detailed and complex models in a unified workflow without switching tools constantly. Geometry nodes excel in tasks like creating landscapes, architectural details, particle distributions, and dynamic motion graphics. This system is particularly valuable for automating repetitive tasks, such as populating scenes with many objects or implementing procedural effects like growing vines or crumbling walls. Recent Blender versions have enhanced geometry nodes by adding new nodes, optimizing the interface, and expanding capabilities, for example, supporting curves or new attribute operations. These improvements keep the tool set cutting edge, making procedural workflows more powerful and easier to use for artists. Blender's geometry nodes have revolutionized 3D modeling by making it faster, more flexible, and more experimental through their procedural and node-based design, marking a significant shift from traditional mesh editing methods. Add-ons, plugins, assets, marketplaces. 2026 Blender is not the Blender from 2018. You can literally build a Hollywood-level pipeline out of community tools that cost less than Netflix. Blender's user base has grown to millions of active artists, developers, and content creators worldwide, expanding both the community and marketplace for tutorials, add-ons, and content. The integration of AI tools accelerates design processes, with improved rendering speed and generative modeling support empowering artists to achieve more with less effort. Collaborative cloud, rendering platforms, and remote asset libraries allow seamless teamwork and resource sharing across large projects, scaling Blender use in professional environments. Blender is increasingly adopted by studios and professionals due to its free, open-source nature and expansive plugin ecosystem. Conferences and events spotlight integration into diverse sectors, such as manufacturing and extended reality, indicating growing industrial relevance. The ecosystem benefits from a collaborative community of developers and artists who continually innovate and share resources, helping keep Blender at the cutting edge of 3D technology. Overall, Blender 3D in 2026 is characterized by accelerated software innovation, broad community engagement, and significant expansion into professional and industrial domains, making its ecosystem robust and rapidly evolving. This explosion propels Blender beyond a niche tool to a mainstream 3D creation powerhouse. Alright, so here's that big shift I mentioned earlier. Blender is enough, but only if your goal matches where Blender is strongest. And here's the dividing line. If you want to be a solo creator, an indie artist, or a freelancer, Blender is more than enough. But if you want to work in a big studio pipeline, Blender might hold you back depending on the department. Let's break that down because this is where a lot of beginners get confused. When Blender is enough. Blender 3D is enough when you need a versatile, all-in-one 3D creation suite that covers modeling, animation, texturing, rendering, compositing, and even 2D animation with its grease pencil tools. Product renders, environmental scenes, 3D logos, motion graphics, VFX for small brands. You're good. Blender covers everything. Modeling, animation, rigging, shading. Blender teaches all the core skills that transfer to any software. If this is your lane, Blender isn't just enough. Blender is OP. Blender 3D is enough if you want a powerful, free, and open source tool for a broad range of 3D tasks, especially if you're willing to learn its workflow and accept some limitations in cutting-edge simulations or extremely high poly counts. For specialized high-end effects or simulations, complementary software might be needed, but for most artists and projects, Blender alone is a robust solution. When Blender might not be enough, studios still rely on Maya, Houdini, ZBrush, Nuke. Blender is used, but not the main tool for heavy simulations or complex rigs. Character sculpting for AAA games. ZBrush still dominates here. Blender can sculpt, but it's not the king. Massive FX simulations. Houdini is still miles ahead for smoke, fire, destruction, complex particles, studio-level shots. Blender can do it, but not at the same depth. Blender 3D might not be enough when you require precise engineering or CAD modeling, advanced physics simulations, professional-level texturing, or specialized compositing. It struggles with precise mathematical shapes required in mechanical engineering since it uses a polygonal mesh data structure rather than parametric modeling. Its physics and fluid simulations are less advanced compared to specialized software like Houdini. While it includes texturing and compositing tools, professionals often prefer dedicated tools such as Substance Painter for textures and Nuke or After Effects for compositing. Additionally, performance issues like GPU memory overload can limit complex scene rendering without clear error feedback. These gaps mean Blender may not be ideal for workflows needing high precision, large-scale simulations, or advanced post-production effects. So now the real question: should you stick with Blender in 2026 or learn something else? And the answer depends on just one sentence. Are you creating for yourself or for a studio pipeline? If you're creating for yourself, Blender is enough, full stop. If you want to join a big animation or VFX studio, Blender is the perfect starting point. But you'll eventually need to learn one extra software depending on your department. Modeling Maya, sculpting ZBrush, FX Houdini, compositing Nuke. But here's the best part. Learning Blender first makes learning any other software 10x easier. You're not wasting time. You're building fundamentals. If this helped you understand Blender's place in 2026, hit that subscribe button because I make videos that help you grow in 3D without the confusion, overwhelm, or hype. And if you want a video on Blender versus Maya versus Houdini, which one should you learn? Just drop a comment saying, do the comparison. See you in the next one.